welcome to episode 2 of Everything Jenni podcast. For those of you that are returning, thanks for coming back. And for those of you that this is your first time, I hope that you enjoy the podcast today and find something that you can relate to. So I want to say, first of all, to my subscribers, I know I've gotten several subscribers this week, and I just love getting the email that says people are subscribing. So thank you for subscribing. I hope that you find each time that you visit that there's something for you to enjoy and something you can relate to. So I hope you're looking forward to podcasts each time that they're posted. And the Ravelry group is Everything Jenni. Again, it's going to start to sound repetitive here because this is going to be, Instagram is everything_Jenni. My Facebook is my Everything Jenni page. And the Etsy shop is also under Everything Jenni. And my website is everythingjenni.com. So the first thing I want to point out to you this week is I did not make a lot of progress on works in progress. I have still my Coziest Memories blanket that has not really seen progress since I showed you last week. I may have even already cast on the red here in my blanket, and at most I've gotten 2 rows done. So if I hadn't cast on and I just had this gorgeous yarn at the end, yay, I've made progress and I've cast on my red for the unicorn tail from Madeline Tosh, and I am very excited to have another of these done. So I did, however, in relation to this project, receive some mail this week. I got a package. I ordered some fingering sock weight yarn from X-Ray Ann on Etsy, and it arrived this week, and it was the autumn sampler, so it had 8 samples in it. And it comes in this adorable little white, kind of cream-colored canvas little bag. And it's filled with yummy goodness. So I will show you here a couple of the colorways. So these gorgeous colors. And this is such soft yarn. And she's wound them into little cakes. So I just thought that was so adorable. I've seen them come wrapped as mini skeins. I've seen them come as a ball. So this one was super exciting to get these little cakes arriving. And there was 8 total in here. So I have kind of this rusty color and this blue. And then the last 2 in this package were this beautiful kind of rust brown orange color and this bright green color. So I'm excited to get started on those, and I'm excited to make some more progress with my unicorn tails on my sock blanket, but I did not have a lot of time for that this week. So if you're working on a cozy memory blanket, whether it's this pattern or a different pattern, I would love to hear about it. And if you could share that in the Ravelry group, in the Works in Progress thread, and share photos. Maybe tell us what pattern you're using, what yarn and needle size you're using. And if you're finding any of any issues or anything that you've decided, and definitely let us know what squares, the actual size and pattern that you're using. So we would love to hear about that and see what's going on with your projects. And the first works in progress I have, besides a project I didn't really make progress on, I am working on the Whispering Pines shawl. And this is a beautiful pattern. It's by Molly of A Homespun House. And I started this, I was in the car and I was going to work on another project, and I found I didn't bring the pattern and I needed the pattern. I did happen to have this pattern and some yarn in the car, so I thought, well, I'll cast on and I'll start it. I have the right needles. And the yarn is beautiful and I love it, but I didn't realize when I cast on, until I really got going in the pattern, that in this, what looks like it's a solid section, there's these little pearl bumps that she calls snowflakes. The materials that I've chosen do not lend itself to actually being able to see it. So, however, on this pattern, these pine cones and trees, you will be able to see on my finished shawl. So I am excited about that. And the yarn itself is beautiful. So let me show you what it is. This is the Monos yarn and the Allegria, Monos Allegria. And I believe this colorway is Antigua. So it's got these purples and pinks, some light pinks, darker purples, some kind of almost white in there. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it's really soft. So that was the draw for me to work with this. And I really thought, oh, wrapping something around me that's so cozy and beautiful. I didn't, however, know about the little stitches. So let me show you what I have so far. And I'm using the Carbons US 6 4mm. And I believe right now I'm on a 32-inch cable. It calls for using a 32-inch cable, so I am. And this is the progress that I have made. So I haven't made a lot of progress. I just started it while I was in the car. And you can see it's beautiful color. And the little bumps are there, the little pearl bumps to create the little snowflake effect. But on this, it's not really going to show, I don't think. I have not worked enough of the pattern to see if it shows up more as I work it. But currently, it doesn't really show when I have a pearl bump there to create that stitch. And maybe once I block it, it might show up a little better. But I am finding that the pattern is an easy pattern to work with. So I'm enjoying that. And I will let you know next week if I've made more progress and how it's coming along. But I can tell you, even when it's done, if I can't see those bumps, it's not going to disturb me because this is so incredibly soft and so beautiful in the colorway that I'm just excited to have something colorful to wear. So that's the only work in progress that I have to show you right now. I have a few more projects, but I've not made any progress on them. So I don't want to spend time going over something that I haven't made progress on. And the hiker sock, I know I showed you that last week, I'm working on for my husband. I have maybe made progress on like 5 rounds, so not much to show you with that. I found myself last week teaching a GATE workshop, which is a gifted and talented education course for students in our area that are 3rd through 8th grade. And it was a painting with Picasso, so I taught them to paint Cubist superheroes. So it was a fun and exciting project, and it was several days throughout the week, and we talked about color and Picasso's style, and so we spent a lot of time on that, and which meant I spent a lot of time prepping and preparing presentations and grabbing supplies and then teaching and showing them and guiding them through the process so that they could have a project at the end that was a superhero in a Cubist style. So not much knitting took place last week. I mostly spent the week working on art projects. So I will show you my progress on my hiker sock as there's actual progress. And then the other big project I worked on this week was sewing projects. So I posted on Instagram and on my Facebook that I have a project bag that is now completed and up in my Etsy shop. And I think I showed you last week a bag that I had made. So it's a medium-sized project bag, and it has a zipper. And this one is the Bluebird bag, and it has a dark turquoise zipper. And each of the bags that's in the shop right now currently has this little charm as a zipper pull that says "Follow Your Heart." And it's with a lobster clasp, so you can take that off and it can become a progress or stitch marker if needed for the project that you decide to keep inside. And when you open it, it has a pocket inside and a contrasting fabric. And there's this one is available. There's another one that looks like this, but the zipper is actually a lighter. So it's a blue turquoise. So the dark turquoise and the blue turquoise, but they're the same outside and inside fabrics, just the zippers are different. And then the other one that just got posted is this one I love. I love the colors. And I call this the Mod Retro. And again, it has the same charm that can be your progress or stitch marker, or just leave it on for your zipper pull. This one, when you open up inside, the contrasting fabric is a green with white polka dot. So just a fun contrasting fabric there. And all of these will fit a good medium-sized project. So anything that you are working on in that realm of medium-sized project. I find that my husband's hiker sock project fits in here because it's a very large cake that I'm working with, and the socks themselves are actually quite thick, so I'm finding that it's a good size bag for that. If I was working on my own socks that I had, the Christmas Eve socks, it would be a little bit big for that project, but I would still use it because it's so cute. In addition to those, I have those 3 bags for sale, and then I created little stitch for doing your double pointed needles. So double pointed needle holder project case. And I have 2 in there that are with the Bluebird with brown cam snaps. So those are those plastic snaps so they won't rust. And I have 2 with the light blue snaps with the Bluebird. And I believe there are 4 of the Mod Retro with green snaps. And those match the bags so that when you open them up, the fabrics actually match what's on the big bags, so if you wanted to buy both. And these are all in the Etsy shop and currently available. These will hold 6-inch needles, I believe. And I often find that I also use them with my circular needles. So I even have one currently where the circular needle's in here, the sock is coming out here, and over here is the cabling. So I'm using it for a magic loop sock. And I love how they keep my needles from the project falling off of my needles and hours of frustration trying to get it back on. So those are available in the Etsy shop. That's been a big project I've been working on. I'm also going to be working on this week some Valentine bags. I'm only going to have a few go up in the shop, and so they'll probably be up this week, maybe hoping by Friday I will have the shop update and have them in there, and they'll be red and pink and cute and adorable. And I'm hoping to also have the double pointed needle holder with that. And then I'm also working on a few surprises. I have a couple of projects, sewing projects, that are in the works. They're in development stage. So I'm practicing patterns and seeing what I'm liking best. And so hopefully within the next month, I will have new projects that you can order and purchase that you're going to love. So stay tuned for those updates. Let's move on to finished objects. The only thing I have to share with you this week that's finished is I finished my Christmas Eve cast-on socks. Yay! So I finished them, and they're blocking right now on my sock blockers. And again, this was the Vanilla Latte socks by Virginia Rose Jeans. And I used the Carbons size 1. I did magic loops, so I used the 40-inch circulars. The sock yarn is the Madeline Tosh sock in the Clematis colorway. And this was the cast-on that I did with Little Bobbins. On her podcast and her blog, she did the Christmas Eve cast-on. So I cast them on Christmas Eve, and then, as I said last week, I work on them, I don't work on them, but I decided this project would get done. So I have a fun story about this. I, last week, went with my husband to a Hollywood event. He was the music entertainment for the event. And usually when I go to these events, I sit by myself and I'm bored and I don't know anyone and I feel awkward, and I sit there and kind of just stay in my little spot and I don't move around and I listen to the music, but it's usually all these people hobnobbing and I feel so out of place. This time I thought, I'm going to try and take a bag. I don't ever take a purse. I hate carrying a purse. So I take a purse this time, and I decide that I'm going to sneak in some knitting. So I need to find a project that is small enough that I can work on while sitting there and still have in a small purse that actually goes to a Hollywood event. I decided my Christmas Eve cast on would be perfect. My little sock weight, I have little needles, it's something easy to carry, and I was on a portion of the pattern where I didn't need the pattern. So I could easily just keep working and working and working. And I found that while I was doing that, the servers are going around with food, and I would take a little nibble of food and have a glass of wine and be able to easily work on my sock. And then when we moved into the other room for the presentation portion of the evening, I found that they left the lights on. Yay! So I could continue working on my sock. The only reason that this is done is because I had all of that extra time to work on these socks while I was at the event. So I was able to get them done, and they're wet, and it's been cold here at my house, and inside my house stays very chilly. So it takes a few days for things to really dry here. So they're on their sock blockers, they're being blocked, and I'm hoping to have them ready in a couple of days to be able to wear. So I'm excited about that. Now, that was the only thing that I actually had done. I'm getting ready to cast on, and this yarn is actually Woolfolk, and it is the color number 3, so it's this really pretty gray, and it kind of has this blue tint to it, but it's a gray yarn, and it's really, really soft, and I just want to rub it on my face. I love the feel of this yarn, and when I bought it, I had some ideas about what I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I bought it anyway, and I bought 2 because I wasn't really sure how much I would need. And I then came home and started looking through my many, many patterns, and I found my Coastal Knits book, so Coastal Knits. And in this book is a pattern for a beret, and I absolutely love the look of this beret. It's called the Rustling Leaves Beret. And it has these beautiful leaf shapes coming up to a point on the beret. So I am getting ready to actually cast that on, and I will hopefully have progress for you next week on that. And it's a project that I can take with me. It's one of those easy to carry along projects, and I love having projects that I can take in the car, I can work on. And the pattern is written out in the book as actually written out, but it's also charted. So I can choose, depending on if I'm at home, the chart I sometimes like better. But when I'm actually traveling around, I really like having it written out. So much easier, because it's easier for me in the car to concentrate on other things as well as work on my knitting project. So I work while my husband drives. And a couple of new yarn purchases. This one actually is a new yarn purchase from the Lemonade Shop. This is Harvest Moon, and it is just, these beautiful bright colors. It is a fingering weight yarn. It is 400 yards, 100 grams. It's a superwash merino and nylon blend, an 80-20. I love it. I was going to make some socks, and then I decided, the color is so fun and so bright and spring and kind of a cross between like Easter egg and summer fun. And so I thought I need to make this into something people are going to see and not just a pair of socks. So I'm currently on the lookout for a shawl pattern that would call for 400 yards of a fingering weight yarn or less, and that I can make a very cute shawl with this. I have a second yarn that I found in my stash. So I went shopping in my stash. And it is Pockapeds by the Alpaca Yarn Company. And this colorway is Mermaids Go Walking. And it's just adorable in colors of greens and blues and like a turquoise and this little bit of brown. And it reminds me of the ocean and reminds me of my mom, and how every February, March, for our birthdays, we will go down to Laguna Beach here in Southern California, and we will hang out for the day. We'll walk around. We'll have breakfast at the actual restaurant that sits on the cliffs and just watch the water. And the colors at that time of year are just so bright blue, green, and you have that brown sand contrast, and it's gorgeous. And I thought, I have to make a shawl with this before our birthdays, that I can wear. Now this one is only, I believe, 360 yards. So again, I'm going to be looking for a shawl pattern that is 360 yards or less. And this is also a fingering weight yarn. Yeah, US 1 and 2. So this is also a fingering weight yarn, and it is a alpaca, wool, and nylon blend. So 20% alpaca, 65% wool, and 15% nylon. So I am going to be looking for a shawl pattern that I can use this so that I've got something I can wear for our birthdays to celebrate. So those are my new yarns that I'm in the process of looking for some patterns. And then the next, I bought Madeline Tosh. I obviously love Madeline Tosh. So this is Madeline Tosh Vintage, and it is Tannenbaum is the colorway. And I absolutely love this color. This has that variegated color of kind of an olive, a dark green, an emerald green, and it's just gorgeous. And Madeline Tosh is always so soft and squishy for me. And so I decided, again, my husband and I are going to be having some fun little trips coming up, and being the time of year, I thought I would make myself some mittens. I have plenty of gloves, plenty of things that I can still use my iPad or my iPhone with the fingertip that has the piece for using those devices. But I wanted a mitten, something that I could just slip my hands into and have the mitten effect. So I decided I am going to use this colorway to make this pattern, and it's called Cruiser, and it's mittens. And the design is by Kaylin Meyer, and she's from dailyscheme.wordpress.com. And the pattern calls for size 6 or 4.0 millimeter double pointed needles. And so I'm hoping to cast that on in the next week or so. And I think that this would make such a beautiful mitten color. And because it's Tannenbaum, and this pattern kind of has a tree kind of pattern on the top of the hand. So I'm excited to give that a shot. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be my first mitten, I think. I have not made mittens before. I've made fingerless gloves, and I've made all sorts of things like that, but I don't believe I've actually done a mitten. And the something that was asked about last week was the artwork behind me. So this piece behind me is actually a piece painted by my husband. He is an artist, a musician. He also teaches art, and he painted this for me. It's a painting called Hanging Onto Time, and it kind of is a play on not only hanging clothes on a line, but hanging on to a time when things were simpler and things were not complicated by all of the devices and electronics and things that we have today. And so this piece, he actually created for me. I absolutely love to do my laundry, and I make my own soap, and I hang my laundry to dry when the weather's nice, and I love the way that it just relaxes me to have the kind of step back in time feel. And I have my aprons, and I mentioned last week I have an apron for every idea and project that happens in my house. I have a laundry apron, and I keep all my clothespins in it, and I hang my laundry to dry. And so this is an oil painting on canvas, and he did this not only because it was a subject that I love, but because we live in a 1908 Craftsman, and we're looking for things to decorate the walls. And you don't have a lot of space in a Craftsman because you have a lot of windows. So we wanted pieces that were meaningful, and we've searched and searched, and we really haven't found pieces that speak to us. So he decided to make us some paintings. And the first one he created for us was this one. And it's going back to, again, the early 1900s era, and creating paintings that are of everyday people doing everyday things. So the genre painting. And this piece may or may not stay here, so as he completes more pieces for me, I may decide to swap it out and have something else hanging on the wall behind me. You may see different varieties come and go. But he's an incredibly talented person, and the beginning of my podcast, the beginning and ending, the music is him. He's a gifted and talented musician and singer-songwriter. He writes music. He plays guitar, drums, bass. Pretty much anything he touches turns to gold. So I am often jealous of his many, many talents. So for those that were wondering, it is by my husband, Christopher Bergen. He does have a website, chrisbergen.com, but it's mainly for music currently. He will be adding his artwork to the page, so you will be able to see some of his artwork at a later time. And he'll get that up as soon as he can. Another project I wanted to bring up to you was the Love Notes postcard project. This is a project that I have been involved in for a couple of years. The project started, I saw something posted on a website, and I just happened to be glancing through, and I found it. It is sending snail mail postcards to someone that you don't know. So you commit to send 3 postcards, and she does this. Jennifer Beltoff runs the program, and she does it several times a year. And the first time that she does it, you sign up and you get assigned a partner. And then once you have your partner and you've confirmed that your addresses are correct and the names are spelled correctly, then you are added to the Facebook group if you want to be added to the Facebook group, and you send 1 postcard a week for 3 weeks. Now, the way that it works is on a Sunday, Jennifer sends you a prompt, and you write about the prompt. So the prompts can vary. Some weeks we've had love is, and then you complete it. You can write 1 sentence, you can write a paragraph, you can write a poem, you can write a bullet point list. It's really wide open, and it's just sticking to whatever the prompt is. And she asks that you send the postcard by Friday of that same week so that your partner will receive it within the next week. We send all over the world. So not just here in the United States, but all over the world, these are being sent out and received. And I know for me, I love receiving them. I love sending them, but I love receiving them because sometimes I'm having a tough day and I go to the mail, and there in the mail will be this postcard, and I will see the postcard and I'll pick it up, and almost every time I've received one, it has something incredibly meaningful and something that applies to me at that moment in time. And it just speaks to me. So this week I received, today I will choose Joy from Jen Millspa, and she's across the country. And so I got this. This one was created by her, and our prompt that week was, don't forget to remember, and then finish the sentence. So she sent this to me, and it was just beautiful. I am looking forward to the next one. I've sent out 2. Now, to be a part of the swap, you do not have to create your own artwork. Many people create their own artwork. Many people will use photographs they've taken and turn them into postcards and then mail those postcards, because photographs are easy for people to easily get on to taking a photograph, having it made into a postcard, and sending, rather than feeling like they're putting some serious artwork out there that they've created. Excuse me, some people don't do any of that, and they just buy beautiful postcards. And they tend to buy postcards that have some sort of meaning to them. I know time has gotten short on me a couple of times, and I've had to pick up a postcard to mail. I haven't had time to create something and send something. So really then those weeks, to me, whatever postcard I choose something that's local to me. So it may be something that's a point of interest near me, or may have a beautiful picture. I've picked up vintage postcards before. But really on those weeks, I focus on the writing, and I make sure that my writing is something that can really touch someone when I send it. And it doesn't matter what form of writing it is. It doesn't matter what the image is. Just knowing that you're getting a personal, handwritten postcard each week for 3 weeks is just this incredible feeling, and it makes you feel like there's someone out there that cares. Now, what we've had happen is on the Facebook page, sometimes things get busy, people get busy, and they forget that they've made this commitment. And then they don't send their postcards. So people just casually get on the page and say, oh, darn, I haven't received my postcard yet. And we have postcard angels. And the postcard angels just can be anyone in the group. And they step up and they say, I'll send a postcard. And I mean, last time I had several people not receive postcards, and I think last time we did this was in the fall, and I sent maybe 5 postcards for 3 weeks. So 5 postcards every week, and I created most of the postcards. So some of them were my standard go-to, something that's a point of interest here where I live, but in general, I try and create my postcards and send those out, and I always really take the time to think about those people. And the only way that I know these people is through Facebook and through these little snail mail postcards. So I'm really writing to someone that I have no idea what their life situation may be. It's a little bit liberating for me to be able to put myself out there and just write freely about how I would address a prompt. And then in addition to that, I did try a recipe this week. It was a loaded potato and chicken casserole, and it called for a red sauce, but that was not going to happen with my husband and his migraines caused by peppers. So what we did instead was we replaced the hot sauce with a chicken white gravy, and then we also swapped out, instead of using the spices that it called for, I did use the garlic powder, and I did use the seasoned salt. I just used a seasoned salt. And so otherwise I kept it the same, and I didn't use the bacon called for at the end of the recipe. But otherwise it was a delicious recipe. So for 2 people, it was kind of a lot of food, but it was still delicious, and I would recommend it to anyone. And keep an eye out this coming up, because there will be a knit-along that you may want to join in the next month. We may introduce that. It'll be a spring item that you'll be making. And otherwise, thank you for stopping by. Thank you again for subscribing. I look forward to seeing you on my next podcast, and I definitely look forward to seeing any works in progress or finished objects posted in the Everything Jenni group on Ravelry. So until next time, happy knitting, crocheting, creating. Go out and be a creative inspiration to those around you. Hugs.